Well, the DNC is having their convention. Sort of. It's virtual and produced by Hollywood movie moguls and star personalities, and of course, it was cutting edge, unlike anything we've ever seen before. No, not really. Most of the people that do their own YouTube channels could have done a better job. Well, let's take a look at DNC Night One. Well, of course, we were treated to speeches by people like Bernie Sanders, who promised that Joe Biden is now going to be the embodiment and the representation of the socialist democratic ideals. But then that was followed by a videotape of former governor of Ohio, John Kasich, alleged Republican, who claims that he's been a lifelong Republican, but right now he needs to vote for America, not the Republican Party, and Joe Biden is the right guy. Can I just stop right here? This is exactly why conservatives hate establishment Republicans. And this is exactly why John Kasich, when he ran for president back in 2015, the reason nobody wanted to get behind him, the reason nobody supported him, he is a complete fraud and totally disingenuous. He's up there saying all the right things, and he's trying to be so humble, and he's engaging, and he's even at some of his town hall meetings asking, so can I give you a hug? Can I give you a hug? And he's trying to sound so reasonable, and he can't believe that the Republican Party at that point is actually starting to lean toward Donald Trump, but he just knows that there are wonderful Americans out there that just cannot get on board with that, and he's one of them. You know what it reminds me of? Better Call Saul. You know, the TV show Breaking Bad, and he had the meth cooker, Walter White, had a lawyer who laundered his money for him, a guy by the name of Saul Goodman. And that, of course, has spawned a spin-off TV series, which, by the way, I think is incredibly well-made and funny, Better Call Saul. And Saul, actually, the character's name is Jimmy, has this ability to cry on command and speak from what you think is the heart and make you think that these are very soul-searching words in which he is saying, only to find out it's a complete and total con job. He's just acting. Thus, John Kasich, the actor, as he stands there at a crossroads, literally, talking about America is at a crossroads. No, it's really not. It's really not. You really think that Joe Biden, in a time of turmoil and pandemic, Joe Biden with his dementia, Joe Biden with his sellout policies that sent all of our jobs overseas, and he personally profited from that, he's the guy that ought to lead us right now? You're kidding, right, John? But then again, you are a career politician. You are part of the establishment swamp. You are part of the whole George Bush, Daddy Bush Sr. political ideology, which absolutely tanked the Republican Party. The Republican Party got reborn, if you will, and invigorated and revived and revised under Ronald Reagan. And George W. took it in the absolute wrong direction. And it has stayed there. And we have rolled out one career politician after another. Witness protection, Romney. John McCain. And one after the other after the other. And it was Donald Trump who took the reins and took us back in a Reagan-esque direction. And now the rhinos, who are exposing themselves for what they are, they're frauds. They're not Republicans. They are rhinos. Republican in name only. They are Democrats dressed in Republican drag. And they had a few of those on the Democratic convention last night. Christy Todd Whitman, former governor of New Jersey, I mean, it's just unbelievable. And there were a bunch of so-called Republican former congresspeople, none of whom most people have ever actually heard of. In fact, some of their own constituents don't even remember that at one time they were their representative in Washington, D.C. They went to Washington, served a term or two, got in on the lifetime salary, even though they will never work again in their lives, and they got some great graft from the lobbyists there, and they're just riding the gravy train for the rest of their lives, and once in a while they come out at a political event and remind everybody why we're so glad they're not actually in Washington, D.C. anymore. That's what you got, Joe? John Kasich, who the only primary that he won was his own state of Ohio. And if the people of Ohio had any idea how he was going to become the never-Trumper that he did, they wouldn't have even voted for him in the primary. So this is what you got? And then he promised, now, Joe Biden he's not going to be dragged to the left. No, he's not. Well, wait a minute, that just totally contradicted what Bernie Sanders had already said. He's going to go left. He's a socialist. He's one of us now. We've hijacked the agenda. So which is it, Joe? Are you going to go the Bernie direction? Are you going to go the John Kasich direction? We need answers to this. No, we really don't, because we know what's going on. We know he's a puppet. We know he's not going to actually be running his administration. But then, of course, everybody was waiting with breathless anticipation. Manchelle Obama. And there she was in her beautiful mansion, in her carefully crafted, scripted speech that even the panelists on Faux Pas News, formerly known as Fox News, were falling all over themselves, talking about what an incredible delivery. I thought Juan Williams was going to have an orgasm on camera. I mean, when they asked him, Juan, what did you think? And he like broke out into a sweat. He was almost like, don't pan the camera down. Wow, that was amazing. What? It was taped. And who knows how many takes it took. I mean, after all, she's got her big gig with Netflix and probably had a Netflix director there putting it together for her. Funny, she blamed Trump for stuff that was actually her husband. You know, like the cages. She referred to President Trump separating families at the border and putting kids in cages, which, by the way, that practice was actually stopped under President Trump. It started under one Barackmas Obadamus. It was his administration that built the cages. And all those newspaper pictures that we saw of kids in blankets which look like aluminum foil laying on the ground behind wire mesh caging. Those were all pictures taken during the Obama administration. And it's funny how CNN and CBS and George Snuffleupagus at ABC, it's funny how they never fact-checked her on that. That it was actually the Associated Press of all news agencies. The AP came out and said, wait a minute, hold it. Fact check problem. Really? It was the Associated Press that pointed out, Michelle, that happened under your husband. Bum, ba-dum, bum. And then she was talking about a tanking economy. And President Trump tanked it because he wasn't prepared for the pandemic and blah, 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 blah. Think about how bad the economy would be right now if he had done what the Democrats in February, they were all running around saying, we don't need to close this economy. Because remember, they wanted everybody to come to Chinatown in New York City and celebrate the Chinese New Year. And that President Trump talking about the China flu, that was xenophobic and it was a racist policy and his travel ban to China was racist and we had nothing to worry about. And even Fauci Stein was out there saying we don't need to wear masks and we need to just live our lives. And then a couple weeks later, all of a sudden, by God, everything's got to close now, immediately. And because Trump didn't close everything then, now, immediately, Why, the pandemic is out of hand, and now our economy is in the tank. Can you imagine if he had closed it back when they wanted it closed, and it would still be closed today like California? Can you imagine what the economy would be right now? But Donald Trump went with his instincts, and he blinked for a moment when he listened to Fauci at all. He blinked for a moment when he gave in, I'm sure, to some pressure from even people within his inner circle, i.e. Ivanka, i.e. Jared Kushner. And, all right, we better do some type of lockdown. And then instinctively, he knew it was wrong. And when they like to show some of those clips of press conferences where it's obvious he's overwhelmed, he doesn't know what he's doing. No, what was obvious was he was saying things that absolutely were not what he believed, went against his incredible instinct that he has. But he felt he had to say it because the people closest to him were saying, Mr. President, you've got to do this for the good of the country. And then the truth kicked in and he realized he'd been had. And even some of his own people, trying to be well-meaning and helpful, had absolutely hurt him. And he's loyal enough not to throw those kind of people under the bus, but he is pushing Fauci Stein, the evil love child of Dr. Kevorkian, out of the way. And now he's got Dr. Atlas in there. Whoa, yeah, go Scott, go. Get us off the mask mandates, will you? And wide open this country, completely, totally. But even still, this economy is starting to just race back to life. And it would really be fully back if places like New York and California were completely and fully open like they ought to be. And even in some red states like Ohio, where they're still clamping down on certain businesses and activities, which is absolutely ridiculous. Case in point, the governor in July put an end to fairs, county fairs. Now, he left the largest amusement park in Ohio, Cedar Point, open, which is all right with me, but can't have any county fairs. I know of 2 individuals who actually own companies which service fairs with rides and amusements who have been devastated. One is bankrupt and one is on the verge of bankruptcy. Way to go, DeWeiner. And all those jobs that it provided. Way to go, DeWeiner. And all that stimulus to the local economy's gone. Way to go, DeWeiner. And so, for Michelle to actually talk about an economy and that Joe is the one poised to bring it back, are you kidding me? When Joe was sane, and we have to go back a decade for that, he was the one pushing Obama and every other Democrat, send our jobs overseas because I'm getting kicked back. Send our jobs overseas because my son's getting kicked back. That's who we want running our economy? Hey, Joe Biden's presidency would certainly be a windfall for China and his own family personally, but it would be absolutely detrimental to you. You know who wasn't on the big convention show last night? Well, there weren't any actual real working people, no union reps or leaders talking about what a stellar job Joe Biden would do for the economy. They know. They know. And you know what else they didn't talk about? They didn't talk about the riots. They didn't talk about the lawlessness. They didn't talk about cities across this country run by Democrats that are literally war zones right now. That just, they didn't get mentioned. Wait, I thought they were the party that cared about working people and they care about you. Apparently they don't care if you're, being assaulted in the streets, dragged from your car and beaten and kicked because you're the wrong color. They don't care that you can have your property destroyed if you refuse to put the right logo on your front lawn or window of your business, BLM. If you don't support the Marxist regime and radical culture, cancel culture changes that are going on, if you're not willing to kneel on the flag, spit on the flag, urinate on the flag, they have no interest in representing mainstream real Americans. Remember that on Election Day. And we were encouraged by Michelle, Manshell, and all the celebrities that were on there. Vote like your life depends on it. There was real no message of hope It was all about if you hate Trump. So their whole pitch is going to be hate because, trust me, nobody is enthusiastic about running out to the polls and voting for Joe Dementia Biden. Which is why Nancy Botox Pelosi is calling the House back from their summer recess to vote on, what do you mean the Postmaster General is saying that we can't do mail-in voting? We don't have the apparatus in place for that. Some of us have been saying that since day one. And now she's hot. Oh, is she hot? And once again, Trump is not going to take this lying down. He's tweeting in real time what he thinks of the Democratic convention. It's awesome, baby. And then, of course, Manshell. We're told what an incredible speaker she is. Well, when you got a script and you can cut and redo and do multiple takes to get it right, she failed to talk about Kamala thinks she's a hottie Harris. What was the excuse? Well, this was taped a month ago. Oh. Wasn't worth redoing to get the VP's name in there? Trust me when I say this. We are setting up for a landslide. Landslide for Trump. Because we're watching the Democrats repeat the strategy of McGovern, which was hate Nixon. We're watching the Democrats repeat the strategy of Walter Mondale, hate Reagan. And it's not going to work. Not to mention, people want to vote for something, not just against something else. Case in point, look at the Republicans. Look at how many Republicans sat out the 2012 election. Did that mean they were supporting Barack Obama? No, but they couldn't get behind Mitt Romney. So there might be a lot of people out there that hate Trump. That doesn't necessarily translate that they're going to go vote for Biden. In fact, mainstream news is reporting that 50% of Joe Biden's supporters come from people who just simply hate Trump. That's not a ringing endorsement, and that is not a motivator for people to go vote just because they hate Trump. Does not mean they want Biden. And now they have all types of conflicting messages out there. Is Kamala to the left? Is she moderate? Is Joe going to go left? Is he going to moderate? And they had this conflicting messages in their own opening night, and no mention of restoring law and order. This is the Democrat Party. This is what they've got to offer. They have nothing to offer except hate the orange man in the Oval Office. That's it. They have no ideas of how to fix anything, how they would solve anything. They don't really tell you what they would do to fix the economy. They don't really tell you what they would do with coronavirus other than mandate that every American wear a mask forever. This is what we're up against. This is what the Democrats are rolling out before the American people. The big upside is, I'm sure, not a whole lot of people watched. We conservatives did because we want to know what they're up to. But I'm telling you, get set. I said yesterday, and heads have exploded. Donald Trump's going to win New York. And he might even pull off California. That's right, you heard me, California. You've got the evangelical church is woke now in California. I don't mean woke like the liberals mean woke. They tried to play nice. They did close when they never should have. And then they realized that it wasn't about health with this pandemic. It was about manipulation and control, and the psychos in the California Liberal Party wanting the church literally to be crushed and to just go away. And now you have the evangelical community of California. They are wide awake. And as a result of that, They are pushing back. They are fighting back. They are filing lawsuits, and they are winning now. And they are fully, completely engaged. And I'm telling you, Governor Newsom is going to wish they weren't engaged. And now that they are, they're going to vote. And I'm telling you, there is some indicators that even in the land of the left, California, they could actually go for Trump. Bum, ba-dum, bum. Oh, it's getting good, and you need to keep it right here for continued analysis. And by the way, you've got all these Hollywood star power movie people putting your convention together, and yet I guarantee you, you won't have to look very far on a channel like YouTube to find guys like me working from their kitchen table or in their den can put together something that looks just as good. And I've never had any training at this. You guys, with all the training, with all the money, this the best you got? This is going to be a week to remember, especially when President Trump rolls out his convention and it absolutely blows this one out of the water. Hey, that's it for today's rant. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're a subscriber to the channel, smack the bell, give me a like on this, and that you have clicked the word all to make sure that you get notification of my next rant.